Again, welcome to the Entrepreneur Fair. We thank you for being here. You're here in attendance because you want to learn more about self-employment opportunities. My name is Bruce Smith. I'm with a company called Casb Management Group and Centum Future Group Mortgages. People ask me what I do for a living. I say I give people money. And then I get strange looks and they say, well, what do you mean you give people money? Well, I provide business financing, I provide mortgage financing, so essentially I give people money. And just to prove it to you, I've got $50 in my pocket. I'm going to give it to the first person who can give me $20. Not you.
Oh, I knew it was coming.
Does 5 count?
Here, I'll give you 20.
I'll give you 5 and you can give him 20. Perfect. There you go.
Oh,
You're too late.
Not too late.
Here we go. Okay.
So what just happened there? Essentially what happened is somebody saw an opportunity and someone acted on an opportunity. And that's what tonight's about. Tonight's about seeing an opportunity and acting on an opportunity. How am I doing my slides?
You gotta give me a nod.
There we go, one more. Perfect. Okay, so I noticed that a few of you weren't reaching for your money. And it could only be one of 4 reasons why that is. First reason was you didn't have $20. So now you don't have to feel bad about that. That's why you're here. So that's not a problem. Second reason, you didn't realize that 50 was more than 20. So that's could have been a possibility. Now, in my business, you have to have basic math skills and be pretty good at math. So mortgage financing may not be the right thing for you, but there might be other opportunities here that don't involve a lot of math skills. So I think you're still okay. Third reason is, oh, it's just too much effort, Bruce. You made me go into my purse or my wallet, reach for the wallet, pull up $20 and give it to you. It's just so much effort. So if you found that to be a lot of effort, then being self-employed maybe isn't the thing for you. And the only other possibility could have been is you're thinking, well, what's the catch? Bruce isn't going to give me $50 for $20, so it has to be a catch. So Steve, was there a catch to that?
That's in my pocket now.
So there was no catch, so.
No catch.
So how long did it take you to get the money out? 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
10 seconds?
Maybe 10?
Yeah.
So you just made, what, $180 a minute?
There you go.
So that works out to $10,800 per hour.
We're gonna have to hang in more often.
Yeah, we are, so you'll never be worth more than you are right now. That has to be the best 10 seconds of your life, I assume.
Yeah, right.
All right. So, next slide. So we're going to talk about the top 10 considerations for operating your own business. And the first thing is, why do it? And most important is your desire to succeed needs to be strong. Failure is not an option. It may be independence, being the boss, money, security, fulfillment, flexibility. There could be any number of reasons that you want to be self-employed. But the why is very important, because without a strong why, you're apt to quit. Without the strong why, you're going to say, why did I get into this business? And there are going to be days where you're going to say that to yourself. So you have to have a very strong why. Steve, what was your reason for getting into business? Or what's your why?
My why was self-employment, the benefits thereof. It's a flexible schedule, although the discipline, to govern that schedule is needed. But it was running my own business and the freedom to do it how I wanted to.
Right, okay, fair enough. People ask me what my why was. Well, my why was essentially I worked with a bunch of morons. That was my why. And I could put up for a while, but then I came to sort of the pivotal point in my life where I realized that I can't really rely on these people to provide for me. I was maxed out in terms of the salary I could be making. They didn't care if I, made a salary or not, or how much my salary was. They wanted to try to hire me for the least amount of money they can. But the biggest thing was I couldn't even count on these guys to have a paycheck for me next week. So it got that bad, that lack of confidence. So I said to myself, I have to provide for my family, and I'm never going to let myself be in a position where I have to rely on others to earn a living. So that's when I decided to become self-employed. And my only regret is I didn't do it sooner. I waited till, I guess, into my declining years to become self-employed. So I wish I had started a lot sooner. But so that was it for me. I wanted to control my destiny, and I realized that if I failed in business, I'd have no one else to blame but myself. So you need to have a very strong why. Next one, what are your interests? Can you find a way to do what you love and get paid? And people say that if you can find something you enjoy doing and you do it without even getting paid, then that's your true vocation in life. So you have to find something that interests you, something that you're passionate about. Now, and it's not a law that says that you have to love what you do, but it certainly helps if you love what you do. So you should try to find something of interest and something that you have passion for. as I mentioned, my business is essentially giving people money, and my mother knew that I would ultimately have a career in finance. She told me that when I was a baby, we'd be in church and I would take money off the collection plate when it went by. So she knew early on that Mom was right. She knew I was going to have a career in finance. The other reason I like my job is because I can change people's lives with the stroke of a pen. And there's not many professions out there, things like doctors, you can change people's lives, but I can change people's lives with the stroke of a pen. So that's a very rewarding career for me. Next slide. Is there a need for this product or service? Does it take people away from pain or move them towards pleasure? There are a few original ideas. What is my unique selling proposition? It's very important that you know that your product or service, if you're taking people towards pleasure or away from pain. So just give me one profession. Name any profession.
Farmer.
Farmer, okay. So does a farmer take people towards pleasure or take people away from pain?
Bit of both.
Okay, why do you say that? What would be the examples?
Well, the pleasure would be the food you get to eat. Takes you away from pain, the pain of hunger if you don't have any food.
Okay. So my theory on it is that the stronger that emotion, either towards pleasure or away from pain, the more likely you are to be successful. So if you have a business or a service that people are sort of indifferent to, it's going to be very difficult. But if you have something that's really moves them towards pleasure or away from pain, then I think that's your best chance for success. Now, because I do mortgages, I do both as well. If someone finds a house and they need to finance it, they come to me, I help them do that, and I move them towards pleasure. Conversely, if someone needs to refinance, let's say they've got too much credit card debt, they're struggling to make their payments, if I can refinance their house or the monthly payments, I move them away from pain. So I'm in a profession where I can do both. In terms of a few original ideas, there are very few original ideas. And it always happens that people come into my office for business finance and they say, I've got this idea, no one's ever done it before. And I say, great, what's the idea? And they say, well, I can't tell you. I say, wait a minute, you come to me for financing, what do you mean you can't tell me? Well, I need you to sign this non-compete, this non-disclosure agreement. I say, okay, I'll sign it. So I sign the agreement, then say, what's your idea? And then they tell me. And then usually that's when I start thinking, I bet in about 5 minutes on the internet I can find 5 other businesses that do exactly what you say you're going to do and you think is unique. And I always can, because there's very few unique ideas. So it's not like you have to find a business where you have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to find something that you can tweak a little bit, make it your own, and figure out your unique selling proposition from it. So people ask me, well, Bruce, what's your unique selling proposition? Well, I do mortgages. Well, there's lots of people in London that do mortgages. I do business financing. Well, there's 2, 3, 4 people in London that do business financing. I do rent-own real estate transactions. There's people in London that do rent-own real estate. I lend out my money in private mortgages. Well, there's a few people in London that do private mortgages. But I bet you I'm the only one in London that does all of those combined. So I have a bigger toolbox, I have a bigger understanding of what it takes to do financing, to do mortgages. And that's my unique selling proposition. I say I'm your one-stop shop for all your financing needs. Next slide. Can I make money doing this? If not, it's just a time-consuming hobby. And a lot of people will fall into that trap as they'll get into a business, but it's not really a money-making business. And I'll give you an example. Let's say your hobby is, or your interest, your passion is making quilts. And you make hand-stitched quilts. And you can only make 1 quilt a week, and your profit on a quilt is $200. Then the most you're going to make is $10,400 in a year if you can only make 1 quilt a week at $200. So if you can't make money, then it's really not a business, it's a hobby, a time-consuming hobby. So again, it does have to be a business that you can make money at. Our basic model works on the premise that you do 3 loans per month. And if you can do 3 loans per month on your own, you'll make about $45,000 a year, which for some people, that's adequate income. Our compensation model is a little different, that we also offer residual income. So if you have a team of people and they do two loans a month, they only do 2 because they're not as good as you, so they can't do 3, they only do 2. But if you have 5 of them doing 2 a month, and they each have 5 doing 2 a month, and they each have 5 doing 2 a month, then when you get down to 6 levels, you're making $1.5 million a year. So when I saw this business model, I said, yeah, I like this business model. I talked to other mortgage companies, and I like this business model the most because I didn't want to work for $45,000 a year. 1.5 was of more interest to me, so not enough to retire on, but I could pay a few bills with it. So it sounded attractive. So that's how I make money in my business. Next slide. How big do I want to build this business? Is it scalable? Can I duplicate my success for other people? And this is very important as well. And you look at well, I guess I use the example of the restaurant industry because that was my past profession. I was in the restaurant industry. So I knew that I couldn't run a restaurant by myself. I needed to have cooks in the back of the house. I needed to have waitresses out front. So I knew I had to make money off the efforts of other people. And you'll see examples of this if you ever watch Dragon's Den as well. Sometimes someone will pitch a presentation. They'll say, well, that's a great business, but it's not scalable. We can't make any money at it. So if you want to get into bigger money, then you have to have a business that's scalable. And business that you can duplicate and capitalize on the success of other people. So like I said, in the mortgage business, we encourage people to build teams. You don't have to, but we encourage it. And that way you have the opportunity to make more money. Next slide. Okay, what skill set do I bring to this business? What is my value, past experience? What skills do I lack that need to be addressed? What support training is required? And I think it's important in business that you bring at least one skill set to the table. You have to bring something to the business. And I'll give the example of a roofing company. Let's say you want to start a roofing company. So if you're prepared to get up on a roof and put down shingles, then yeah, you can be in the roofing business. Let's say you never want to go on a roof, you never want to install shingles. Well, can you go out and give quotes to people on having the roofs done? So if you can go out and give quotes to people, then you can be in the roofing business. Let's say you don't want to get up on roofs and do shingles. Let's say you don't want to go give quotes, but you feel comfortable that you can hire roofers and hire salespeople to go out and do that for you, then you can be in the roofing business. So it doesn't really matter what skill set you have, as long as you have a skill set that's part of that business. And I use the example of going back to the restaurant business. I had an owner, he was a lawyer. What he brought to the business was sitting at the bar drinking with his buddies. He no longer has that restaurant. But so again, it has to be a skill set that actually is a benefit to the business. In terms of the mortgage industry, we have to have a skill set of technical skills and sales skills. And I was always good in that, so the technical side was easy for me. It was the sales side that I had never experienced before, because I was in operations, so I always told people I don't get paid to be popular, I get paid to get results. So now I entered the mortgage business, I have to be a nice sales guy. Jeff says I'm still a work in progress, I haven't gotten there yet, so I'm still working on it. But, so that's important, and when you find a company, you've got to have a company that has the tools and support to supplement the areas that you're weak in. So we're happy that Centum is one of the biggest brokerages in the country, so they have a lot of tools that we can use. A lot of it's online, so if you can read, it's available to you. I figured, hey, I can read, so I was easy that I can pick up a lot of the training. And the other thing that was nice with our compensation module is there's the mentoring component. Because if you get into the mortgage business with me and you don't make any money, then you're no good to me. So I have to mentor you, I have to make you successful. Just for selfish reasons, because if you don't make any money, I don't make any money. So for strictly selfish reasons, I'm gonna help you be successful. And I never had a boss in any of my jobs before that ever wanted to really see me be successful. So I was pleased with that from our business model. Next. Is this a lifestyle fit? Hours of operation, family, flexibility. If you want to be home every night at 5 o'clock, don't get in the mortgage business, don't get in the real estate business, because those are typical businesses, you're meeting clients in the evening. If you want to work odd hours, some days you go in the office, some days you don't get into the retail business where you have fixed store hours. So it's important that you find a business that really fits with your lifestyle, fits in with your family. And also, I guess for my business, what I liked about it is because I wanted flexible hours. My business runs with a phone, fax, and computer. So I can be anywhere in the world as long as I have a phone, fax, and computer, I can operate my business. And that's what was appealing to me as well, was that flexibility. Next. Virtual presence versus bricks and mortar. The internet continues to change the way business is done. And isn't that an understatement? You look at the internet, and it's really only been the last 20, 30 years that the internet's been around when you think about it. And just the way that business has changed in that time. It used to be if you wanted to sell widgets, you need to have a store, and the store sold widgets. If you wanted to manufacture widgets, you had to have a factory that manufactured widgets. Now you can manufacture products, not even in your town, your province, even your country, and you can have products manufactured for it. So it's really changed the way that business is done. So that's something you should give thought to. How much of a virtual presence do you want in your business? I look at the mortgage business, and there's two ways to do it. There are some companies that want brick and mortar presence, so they'll have a retail location like a bank. And there's others like myself that like to have a virtual presence. And I compare it to ING. So I'll say to people, have you heard of ING? And most people nod their heads. I say, well, you guys have heard of ING? How have you heard of ING? How do you know they exist? Yeah, marketing, TV commercials, radio ads. Ever been to an ING branch? No ING branches, they're a virtual bank, they don't exist, so I can run my business as a virtual business, and that's what appeals to me. Because again, I don't want to be tied to set hours, I don't want to be tied to brick and mortar, I want to be able to do mortgages anywhere in Canada, and not restricted to just London. Next slide. Okay, what can I afford? A lot of people tell me they want to have a Tim Hortons franchise. What's it cost to have a Tim Hortons franchise?
$1 million.
We're getting close. How much do you think to open a Tim Hortons?
$4 million.
No.
1 million.
No. Actually, it's about $500,000 to operate, to open a Tim Hortons franchise. So every business has some sort of barrier to entry. The barrier to entry is what's it cost for me to get up and running, and then what does it cost me to sustain ourselves until we're profitable. And that has to be a major consideration when you're deciding on a business. You know, how many years do you want to recover that? You got to sell a lot of coffee to pay back $500,000. So do you want to make your money back in 1 year, 3 years, 10 years? You know, how long does it want it to take? And I guess the guys that I pick on now are the ones that do the hydro, the rooftop solar panels, and they'll come and say, well, it's a 10-year, 12-year return on your investment. You know, and they make it sound so good, like after 12 years, all your hydro will be free. I say, you gotta be kidding me. If it takes you 12 years to pay back my investment, I'm not interested, because there's better investments out there than waiting 10 or 12 years to get my money back. So even though it sounds good, all this free hydro, it's still an awful long time to wait to get your money back. So for our industry, you need to take a mortgage course. You need to pass an exam. You need to get licensed with FSCO, that's the Financial Services Commission of Ontario. You need to have some business cards up. And assuming you already have a fax, phone, and computer, you're in business. And the total cost is about $1,000. So that's our barrier to entry. It's about $1,000 to get into the mortgage business. So you're gonna, Dave's gonna talk about some franchise opportunities. Some are probably more than $1,000. I don't know if he has any as high as 500,000 Tims, but so really that's up to you. It's how much money do you have to invest in the business, and it's what lenders call skin in the game. They're looking for skin in the game. I've had people come to me and say, yeah, I want to open a Tim Hortons franchise. That's great. How much do you have to invest? None. I have to get 100% financing. I say, thank you very much. It's, I can't work those miracles. It's not like buying a house. A house, I can still get them 100% financing, but you can't buy a business with no money down. Next. Okay, buy versus build. Okay, buying a business, if you can find one, gives you a decent head start on things, because you automatically have revenue. And I have bought and sold businesses in the past. And the problem I always had with buying a business is I wasn't exactly sure what I was buying. And you're never exactly sure until you've taken over the business. And you hope you've made a good decision. And people say, well, how can you not know what you're buying? Well, because you can't trust the information you're presented. Even financial statements prepared by accountants, that doesn't mean they're accurate. And I've questioned accountants on that. Basically said to them, I bought this business based on these financials, and this is not right. And his answer to me was, well, garbage in, garbage out. He's saying, that's what the owner presented to me, and that's what we did our financial statements up for. So you have to be careful buying a business. Just make sure you do a lot of due diligence and know exactly what you're buying, because often it's not the case. At least that's been my experience. So, and usually, if you're buying a business, you want to buy assets. You want to buy, the inventory. You want to buy the customer list. You want to buy assets. If you're selling a business, you want to sell shares, because selling the shares of the company, you're selling the liabilities of the company as well. And that's often where you get caught. There's more liabilities than you know. Like I can tell you tons of horror stories, like things where people have bought restaurants and then they get a bill from one of their suppliers. You owe $20,000 to us for these products, and they said, well, we just took over yesterday. Well, we don't care. You bought the company. You now owe us $20,000 for supplies that were previously provided. I had one situation, my own personal situation. There was a big GST arrears, not on his financial statements. It showed he didn't know any GST, but we found it after the fact. There's a big GST arrears. So it can happen, but it does give you an opportunity to get a head start. So you now have a template that you can use when evaluating your self-employment opportunities. So those are the 10 things that I'd be looking at. And if you want to pull out the second page of that I gave you, I'll just sort of recap sort of the reasons that I would get into the mortgage industry, if that's what interests you. And the first one, why a career as a mortgage agent? Well, number one, money's an easy product to sell. What could be easier than selling money? It's a product that everybody needs, so it's an easy product to sell. Number two, it's an easy identifiable target market. Okay, where are your mortgage customers come from? Go outside your house, look to your left, look to your right. Those are your clients right there. You know, 75% of them will have mortgages. The trick for you is just finding out which ones, when the mortgage comes up for renewal. So it's easy to identify the target market. If something comes up for sale, it's on MLS, there's a sign in the front yard, you know, someone's buying a house, selling a house, there's gonna be a couple of mortgages attached to that. So it's easy to find your target market. Number 3 is recession-proof. People say, well, what happens if people stop buying real estate? I don't care. They know they need to refinance real estate, so I'll just focus more on refinances than on purchase and sales. So it's pretty much recession-proof. Banks are not their friend. People think that banks are their friend. In 1998, 8% of mortgages were originated through mortgage brokers. This year, 31% were originated through mortgage brokers. So it's really a growing industry. And in the States, about 8% of mortgages originate through mortgage brokers. So it's still a growth industry. And people think banks are the friend. Banks aren't their friends. You go to a website and see what a 5-year posted rate is at the bank. It's 5.34. So yeah, they'll give it to you at 5.34 on a renewal. They'll offer that. If you can go in and negotiate better, good for you. You can go and negotiate better. But the fact that they don't give you their best rate right off the top annoys me. And usually in our industry, you don't have to negotiate. That's our job. We go in and negotiate with the lender, so they don't jerk us around because they know we can just go talk to any lender. So usually they're giving us our best rates. Low barriers to entry. Again, $1,000 and you're in business. No educational requirements. There's no educational restrictions. I think you should be good in math. If you have some soft skills, some sales skills, that's always helpful. I can teach you the technical stuff. It's harder for me to teach you the soft skills. You are an expert, as many lack basic financial literacy. Financial literacy isn't something taught in school. And I'm just shocked at the amount of people that come out, don't understand about managing credit, don't understand really sort of how mortgages work. It's not a course in school, and it's really tricky because it's such an important thing, and people really mess up their lives very early in their life, and declaring bankruptcy and all sorts of nonsense when really they don't have to if they just had a better financial understanding. So you're going to be seen as the expert compared to what they know. And the last thing is flexible hours. So it is an industry that you can work, fairly flexible hours. Sometimes you're at the demand of your clients, but often, if you want to go away, I went away 2 weeks in the summer to Europe, and my business carried on when I was gone, so that was nice. So I enjoy it for the flexible hours.